Alright, so this has been set now for over 48 hours. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get these edges trimmed off. Seems like it adhered really well. I don't see any bubbles anywhere. It looks like it's in really good shape. So I'm going to get a razor knife and start trimming these edges. I'm going to try a couple things, see what's going to be the best method. But I think it's going to be just get under from the underside and get it through up near the front and just run it straight down. So I'm going to get started on that. And then hoping maybe this evening, as long as my console finishes drying. It's still a little tacky right now, but another few hours and it might be dry enough that I can get it up here and get it mounted. So that's kind of what I'm going to work on today. I'm also going to try to get a lot of the aluminum cut for my light rail. That way tomorrow morning I can kick off doing the welding and everything will be cut and I can just grab pieces, stick them on and weld them and go. And it should make the process go pretty quick. I can get everything on and built, and then we'll be looking like we'll be in good shape. If I can get the console on today and the rails on, then I can get ready to start wiring in all the lights, which is going to be a process. It's going to be a lot of electrical work. So I'm going to go ahead and kick into this and get all this edges trimmed up. Alright, there we go. So everything's trimmed. Alright, so everything's trimmed off here. Now I can start bringing in my aluminum. Alright, so now all the edges are trimmed. They're nice and flush with the edge. So what I need to do now is I can bring in my aluminum and actually lay my aluminum on here. That's going to be running down the length. And I can start getting my miters cut on that. So we'll pause this for a minute. I got to go in and set the saw back up for cutting aluminum because I was cutting the wood the other day for the console. So I get that set back up, and then I'll get the aluminum. It's kind of drizzly and nasty out, so I got to bring in one piece at a time, dry it off, and I'll be able to lay a long run on here, mark it, cut it, cut my other 45 first. I got to cut one end exactly 45. And spin around the other way and cut a miter this side, be able to lay one on, get the other one on, and then I'll do the center pieces. So give me a minute, I'm going to pause this and go get that stuff to get working on that. Alright, so I brought in my 3 pieces of 3" by 3" and 3/16 thick angles. So these pieces are what's going to border all the way around. And my light rail system will actually be welded to this. So the first thing I got to do to get started on that is I've got to get my miter cut in this end here. Let me bring this down a little bit. Alright, so I said I got to get a miter, a 45-degree miter cut here, and then cut this one to length for this long side. And then this other one, this next one up, I got to do the same thing, a miter across this corner, and then cut it to length of the miter on the other side, and that'll go on the other side of the boat. And then this third piece is long enough to do both the bow and the stern of the boat. So once I get the 2 side pieces on, I'll get a miter cut in this. I'll come out, I'll mark the length, and I'll cut it a little bit long because this piece is, I only need 2 8-foot pieces. I got this piece a foot long, so that way I can cut a little long and take a little bit off till it fits perfectly, so that way I don't end up getting it too short. So that's going to be step 1 here. I'll go get this one cut and then put in place. I'm going to probably do a lot of that fitting without the camera on. It's just going to be a lot of just me running in and out. Don't really need to see that, so I'll just figure I'll explain what I'm going to do, and then I'll show you what it's going to look like when I'm done. Alright, so yesterday we got the 3" angle for the perimeter cut. Today we're going to get it welded together. We dry fitted on the boat, so now today we're going to get the corners welded and get all the lights support bars welded to it, and once that's done we'll be able to set it back on the boat. We'll get some silicone bead run all the way around and bolt it down. So right now we are getting ready to weld the corners. Set it on there for a sec. Pick it up, go a little further. Let it sit on it. I gotta get around. My end's on. Oh. Like a glove. That thing dropped right on there.
Yeah,
Cool. That's awesome. That couldn't have gone any better.
yeah.
That dropped right on perfectly. Awesome. So that's our 3-inch angle. That goes all the way around the outside. So now that we got that on, the next step is to start getting all the aluminum in here. We got a lot of aluminum to cut. So we're going to go through and get all that aluminum cut probably once we get this laid out. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to close the doors up, keep some warm air in here for a little bit, and I'm going to run all my stuff down. I'm going to mark everything out exactly how it's going to be on the aluminum here, and then we're going to take that back off so we can get it welded together. So let's get the door shut. Alright, so we got our top pieces of the rail cut. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get the corners welded together of those, and once we get those corners welded together, then we're going to come back and get all the legs cut and then get the legs welded on. So we're going to get moving on that. Alright, so we're continuing with where we were yesterday. We got most of the pieces set up. We got a few more to do. The entire right side of the boat is done as far as the light mounts go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a few more angle pieces to put on, and then I got to do the vertical pieces on the back side of all the poles on the back and the left side. So I'm going to try to get all that done here this morning, and then that'll be a stopping point for today. So let's get moving. Everything is now welded. It's nice and strong. I got one more bit to weld to this, which is going to be a piece of 3-inch flat stock that's going to go all the way around the perimeter at the top, and that's going to create a shield for the lights that are going to be on the inside that'll send light down inside the boat like I had on my previous boat. So now I got to do some grinding, get this thing cleaned up, and then be about done for the day. I got a little bit of time left, probably about 15 minutes. I'm going to grind for a little bit, but not going to record that, so I'm just going to turn this off for now. That's all for today. Alright, so we've got the light rail pretty well built here. Got everything welded up, all our angle pieces on the bottom welded up. So you can see on this one we welded a piece of angle here and then a flat piece up this edge to make it quite sturdy instead of just relying on the butt welds. So HLA got that. The corners got a piece, a 90-degree piece on each side and a flat on each side. So they're well supported in the corners. And then I went through on each corner where they're butt welded and actually welded a small piece across the top just to make sure that there's no way that it's going to break on me, hopefully, anyway. So the next thing I got to do involves a little more welding. And what I got to do is take these pieces here, and they're getting welded on just like this, right up flush to the end there. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a shield on the inside here. So if I come around to the inside, I'll have about 2 inches hanging down, and I'll be able to run my conduit behind this, so you won't be able to see it from the outside, as well as the lights that'll light up the inside of the deck area. So I gotta get all these pieces welded on, and once those flat pieces there are welded on, I've got all these pieces here cut, and these are what's actually going to mount to my lights. So here's one of the lights here I brought down. You can see where the mounting holes on the lights are. And this will be just longer than the outside of those mounting holes. So I'll use the inner portion of those ovals for my mount points. And these will get welded on the outside here, just like that. So I'll have to measure out and get all them centered in each of my sections here. So all that's pre-cut and ready to go. So that's what I'm going to work on now, is get that stuff on. Once all that's welded and up in place, probably do a little more grinding, and then I'm going to get ready to paint this whole rail system. The whole rail system is going to get painted the same color as my console over there. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to get rolling on that, try to get all that done today, and maybe a coat of paint, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to put this thing on the tripod, and we're going to get rolling with some welding. Well, I got that all grinded and cleaned up. So now I just got to put it back in the garage. Tomorrow I will get the other parts welded, or not tomorrow, the next day once I'm off work, and I get some gas. I'll be able to weld on the last pieces. I'm going to go ahead and get all them marked out now though, so that way when I come back it'll be real easy to just lay them in place. So I'm going to get those marked out. Not going to do that on camera, and that'll be it for now. So alright guys, so got more gas for the welder now since I ran out the other night. So got full day here. I'm going to try to get a lot of welding done today. That'll pretty much wrap up my welding. So I've got to get all the light mounts welded to the light rail system here. Behind me over here, yesterday I pre-cut the shelf pieces, so I'm going to get that stuff taken care of today, welded, and get the new braces for the shelves put on the back of the pontoons there. And then, like I said, all those 6-inch pieces of aluminum square stock are getting welded on. And once all that's done, as well as the doors, you can see I pre-cut the tube for the gates there. I'm going to get all 3 gates welded together, and I'm going to move the whole system out and onto the driveway there, where I'm going to spray paint the whole thing. So let me go ahead and fire up the welder, and I'm going to get started on the front here and just start running those 6-inch pieces. I did all the marks yesterday. I marked them all out, so I'm ready to roll here. Alright, so we got all of our light mounts welded up. So I'm going to get this out there and then come back inside. I'm going to weld the gates together and get them out there, and I'm going to get the shelves welded together. So I'm just going to pause this for a minute while I get that stuff set up. Alright, so this stuff's all prepped and ready to go. Alright, so I just finished all my welding and grinding on the shelves and the doors and stuff. So the last thing I got to do before I paint is grind all the tops from where I welded those pieces on. I think I'm going to leave the sides. I might try to touch them up a little bit, but I'm not going to get too far into the sides so I keep a good weld there. But once I get the tops ground flush, then I'll be ready to start painting. So let's get that going. Alright, so what I'm doing now is extending these shelves out. So I'm gonna weld these pieces of angle like this. That way it brings the shelf out, and then what I gotta do is cut a piece of flat stock that'll drop down and weld it to the pontoon right here to help support the end of this a little more, so we're not just relying on what's here, because you know these are pretty flimsy. So So what I did, just a couple tack welds to keep that in place, because it's going to be bolted through to that, so I'm not too worried about that really. What I am worried about is this end piece out here. So I welded the flat piece that's ribbed from the original decorative trim that was on there. It's going to make a pretty strong set there, and I used another piece here, so these two will be nice and supported. It's braced across. It's about as square as I can get it, but now there's no play in it. So now the shelves will sit real nice on there. So now I got to repeat that process over here on side 2. So I'll put this back and play this time lapse. Alright, so we're cleaning this up. We got done this welding here. So the pontoons are braced nicely for the new shelving on both sides. And now we're cleaning up. We're going to get this deck cleared off. We're going to blow it off the air compressor, and we're going to get ready to install our lights. So I got to go swap out SD cards, and we're going to get rolling on this. Alright, forgot to turn the camera on, but we just dropped this thing in place. So now we're going to go around and we're going to drill all the holes. We pre-marked everything here, so we got to get all the holes drilled. We're going to pick it up so that way we can blow everything off and all the crud from under it, and then we're going to silicone it and put it back in place. So that's what we're doing now. Alright, we are all cleaned up for the night. The boat is bolted down. The rail is up. The shelves are just sitting in place back there. So we got nice new storage areas for the generator and the gas can over there. Tomorrow we'll be attaching the console, get the final coat on the gates, probably get the gates put in place, maybe. We'll see. Might leave them off till later, but that's pretty much it for the night. Good spot to wrap up. Now we just have a whole lot of electric wiring to do to get this thing lights rigged and ready to roll. So that's the end of this episode. This should be the end of a series here. So we'll pick it up on the next episode.